Great. So hello, everyone. I'm INNDOC Calvo, and together with my colleague Raquel&Romasanta, we're going to be presenting today's topic, which is enhancing student-teacher collaboration and reflective exploration of ChatGPT in the English for Tourism classroom. So this is our outline for today's presentation. First, we will briefly summarize what we have been doing, then some reasons why we think this is an important topic, methodology, so how we've created or implemented these two activities, then some results, so our observations, and finally, we will draw some conclusions. So today what we're going to be talking about is our first attempts at implementing ChatGPT in the English for Tourism classroom with two distinct or different tasks. So on the one hand, we have a task in which we asked students to use ChatGPT to create a conversation in class, whereas the other one, they had to analyze a text that the teacher had previously generated with ChatGPT. We will be also talking about our reflections on the performance of the tool, as well as the students' attitudes, and we will also talk about some difficulties faced by ChatGPT or some limitations that we have found. So AI has revolutionized many sectors, including education, and it's true that some teachers are quite reluctant to using AI in the classroom, mainly because they believe that they weaken students' critical thinking skills, but also hinder their autonomy or their autonomous learning. However, despite this skepticism, little by little, teachers are finding that the students are using the tools outside the classroom, and some teachers are also. And so it's important that we need to adapt to this situation, because we believe that AI is here to stay, and in recent quite soon they're going to become frequent or common resources in the classroom, such as the internet or the use of dictionaries. So depending on the activity that we're going to present today, we have between 6 and 15 students, all of them enrolled in the degree of tourism at the University of the Balearic Islands, and they were all doing the subject English 1 within this English for Tourism classroom. A brief summary of the different tasks. So in task 1, the main objective was to help students prepare for one of their speaking exams. So one of their oral exams, they have to record a video in pairs, simulating that they are booking a hotel room over the phone. And so hopefully ChatGPT will help them design this activity. Here, the students worked mainly autonomously, and the teacher was more a facilitator. So we went from one group to the other, just helping them out or giving them maybe some ideas. Whereas in task number 2, the main objective was to analyze text that had already been generated by ChatGPT related to collocations with a break. And in this case, the teacher took the activity to the classroom, so it was implemented already in the class, and the teacher was more a collaborator, so just interacting with the students. Great. So now my colleague Raquel is going to present the first activity for us.
Yeah, so here you can see the guidelines we gave the students for the first task. The first step was for them to imagine they were receptionists at a hotel, and they had to come up with a potential list of questions they would ask a customer who's booking a hotel room through the phone. In a second step, instead of being the receptionist, they have to imagine they are the customers, and again, create a list of potential questions. In a third step, we already have the ChatGPT helping them, and we gave them two options: either start preparing the dialogues from scratch by asking the bot to give them an example of a booking, or they could insert the questions they prepared previously and ask the tool to correct the grammar and create a conversation afterwards with those sentences, with those questions. And then in a fourth step, and we told them to keep asking questions to the bot until they were happy with the final product, like asking for meaning of words they didn't understand, synonyms, asking the bot to be more polite or impolite, and also take into account the requirements of the subject of the project they had to do. So we asked them to create difficult email addresses and surnames, so they have to spell them out. So they had to take all this into account when creating the dialogue with ChatGPT. Now, with the conversation with the chat, the first prompt they gave to the bot was very different in the two groups. So the first group decided to start from scratch with the bot and ask it to create the dialogue. And they gave a very broad prompt. Whereas the second group decided to go with the questions they prepared in advance. So they asked the bot first to correct the sentences, and in a second prompt, they asked the bot to create the dialogue with those questions. Yeah, next one, please. Yeah. Now, we will see first the conversation of the first group and then move to the second group. The first thing we notice when looking at this conversation is the informality of the customer using "hi" there, which in itself does not pose a problem, but we wonder whether students are aware and would make some changes afterwards to fit the situation better. And something we find very positive is the fact that the bot does know the structure of this type of conversation and includes many of the questions we specifically told the students would have to be included in the video. However, there is also some missing information as well, so there is obviously a need for double checking from the side of the students before recording the video and submitting the project. We were very happy with this next interaction, which shows students' capacity to be critical with the answers they are given. So they didn't like the conversation and decided to ask the bot for more. They gave the bot a more detailed prompt so they can get an improved version. Yeah, next. So well, with the new version, they wanted to include Disney, and the bots talked about an enchanted dream resort, which they didn't know what it meant. So they asked where this dream resort was, and the bot explained to them that it was basically something it made up. It's a fictional name. And then they also asked about the meaning of a spouse, which they didn't know, and the bot gave them not only the meaning, but also the register and the uses of this word. Then students realized that the conversation does not include all the information we require them for the video, so they ask for the difficult email address and the difficult name and surname. So they get this longer email address, and we see within the same conversation the bot the first email doesn't look like an email. It doesn't have the @ symbol, and the next conversation it gives them it does have the @ symbol. Yeah. Then again, the students realize they don't really know how to read the email, how to read it out, and they ask the bot how to do that. So it tells them the words dash and .com. And then they also ask the bot how to spell Elena's surname. And for the video, we require them to use the abbreviation alphabet. So they also asked that to the bot, which is able to do it very fairly well. Now, in terms of group 2, we see that there's a more formal customer. And also remember that this group was the one who decided to start by giving the bot the sentences they wanted to include in the dialogue. However, it did not include all of them. So there were some sentences missing, like, does the hotel provide lunch and dinner? What are the transportation options? So in a next prompt, next one, please. They tell the bot, yeah, you forgot to include all these sentences. Could you do it again, including all of them? Which the bot did not do. It generated exactly the same test, and students then decided to give it more specific prompts. So they wanted to the trip to be for 2 children and 2 adults. And also they wanted to include the specific food requirements for one of the kids, celiac. And they didn't know the word, and the bot corrected them, not by saying that what they say was wrong, but using the right word within the dialogue itself. Now, we notice in the dialogue of this group some inconsistency that in the conversation the bot created. So at the beginning it says there's going to be 5 guests, but then in the subsequent interactions it says it's just 1. And we don't think students did really realize that, because they didn't give any prompt regarding these differences. However, they wanted to know what a large family was in Spain, and the bot explains them. It's a family is typically considered large when it's 3 or more children. Yeah, so then now we thought about some pros and cons of this activity, and we think as pros, it improves the students are able to improve the dialogue, but by asking more questions, so that they get the dialogue they want for their video. And the bot also is able to correct some vocabulary they don't know, as well as the grammar, as we saw. But then some cons, the bot makes some mistakes in the dialogue, and there's this difference between formal and informal as well. And we are not so sure students actually notice these mistakes. So we would have to make them aware that they have to double check the final product to make sure it's a good project that they can submit. So we think this activity is a good starting point for students to prepare the dialogue, but they have to be aware that they need to revise it.
Yeah, so thank you, Raquel. Right, so now regarding task number 2, as I mentioned before, it was related to collocations with break. So the first phase was for the teachers to actually prepare the activities before the class. So the first thing we did was to ask the tool to give us some collocations with break, and as you can see there, it gave us quite an exhaustive and extensive list. But afterwards, we asked ChatGPT to select those that were more related to tourism. So finally, it gave us these 7 or 8 collocations. But we saw that our instructions to begin with were not clear enough. Why? Because for instance, it did not show us so afterwards we asked the tool to give us, our intention was for the tool to give us a phrase with each of these collocations, but what it gave us was a whole paragraph in which it incorporated all of these collocations. So perhaps our instructions were not clear enough. And here you have the paragraph that it gave us. And something interesting we found was that it gave us the collocations in the order in which it had given us the list. So first give someone a break, then go on a break a sweat, until break a rule. So the activities we prepared first would be, so we took these collocations to class and first asked the students to explain the meanings of the collocations. We found that most of them were quite familiar to them. So for instance, break a leg or break the ice. But regarding break the bank, they used the intuition and they were able to figure out the meaning. But with break the sweat, they got it wrong. So it was a difficult one for them. So after they knew the meanings of each of these collocations, we together we started looking at this paragraph, and the students were able to recognize that there was, generally speaking, the collocations were correctly used, but there was some cases in which there was a problem, basically a pragmatic problem. So here, if you want to look at the paragraph, please pause the video. But here we can see where break the ice is used with friends, and so we all know that break the ice is normally used with someone that we have just met or someone that we don't know at all. And break the bank does not really fit, the meaning of break the bank does not really fit in this sentence. So, sorry. Yeah, so here we have what's happening here. Okay, so here I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, go forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now just very quickly, our conclusions. So the first task, we believe that well, we saw that students used ChatGPT not only for the initial objective, but beyond it by asking the meaning and other different things. In the second task, both the teachers and the students observed that there were a few pragmatic issues. So it wasn't just the teacher, but the actual students were able to recognize this. We found it really surprising that some of the students had never tried ChatGPT. So when we asked them to open ChatGPT, they did not know how to start. And that for us was really surprising because we only did this about a month and a half ago. So it was quite recent. And finally, we believe that our experience was quite positive and students generally acknowledged and appreciated the activity. So in the future, we're going to implement more activities with not just ChatGPT, but with AI in general. So finally, here are our acknowledgements, and thank you very much for listening, and we will appreciate any questions or comments that you may have.